Have you ever wondered why two people can have the same dream, work equally hard, and yet end up with completely different lives? One continues chasing their desires for years, always feeling as though success is just out of reach. The other seems to attract the right opportunities, the right people, and the right circumstances almost effortlessly. What if the biggest difference isn't talent, luck, or even persistence? What if the answer lies in the final few minutes before you fall asleep? Every night, without exception, you enter a unique state of consciousness. It's a moment so ordinary that most people never notice it. Your body begins to relax. Your thoughts slow down. The outside world fades into the background, and your mind becomes unusually receptive. According to Neville Goddard, this is the state akin to sleep, or SATS. He believed this wasn't just another relaxation technique. He taught that it was the most powerful doorway to impress a new reality upon the subconscious mind. But here's the surprising part. Most people hear about SATS, try it for a few nights, and quietly give up. Not because it doesn't work, but because they misunderstand its true purpose. They believe SATS is about forcing positive thoughts. It isn't. They think it's about repeating affirmations until something changes. It isn't. They assume they must create vivid mental movies with perfect clarity. Again, that's not the secret. The real secret is far simpler and far more profound. It isn't about imagining a better life. It's about falling asleep as the person who already lives it. That single shift changes everything. Tonight, we're going to explore exactly what Neville Goddard meant by SATS, why this simple practice has transformed countless lives, and how you can begin using it correctly from the very first night. By the end of this video, you'll understand why those quiet moments before sleep may be the most powerful moments of your entire day. Because if you learn to change who you are in that brief space between wakefulness and sleep, your reality has no choice but to follow. Before you can use SATS to transform your life, you need to understand what it truly is. Because the greatest misunderstanding about this practice is also the reason so many people quietly abandon it. Most people think SATS is a visualization exercise. Neville Goddard never presented it that way. Visualization is only a small part of the process. The real purpose of SATS is to help you step into a state where your subconscious mind accepts a new identity without resistance. Think about how your day usually ends. Your responsibilities are over. The conversations have stopped. The noise of the outside world slowly fades away. Your breathing becomes slower. Your muscles begin to relax. Your eyes grow heavier with every passing moment. You're no longer fully engaged with the world around you, but you're not completely asleep either. You're in between. That quiet space, that gentle transition, that is the state akin to sleep. It's a moment where the mind naturally becomes less analytical and more receptive. During the day, your conscious mind is constantly evaluating everything. If someone tells you that your life is about to change overnight, your mind immediately begins listing reasons why it can't be true. It remembers your current circumstances, your past failures, your limitations. It argues with every new possibility. But as you drift toward sleep, that constant inner debate becomes quieter. The mind begins to loosen its grip on old assumptions. And for a brief moment, you become remarkably open to whatever feeling you choose to embrace. This is why Neville emphasized the moments before sleep so often. Not because nighttime possesses some mystical power, but because your awareness naturally becomes more accepting. And whatever you consistently accept inwardly eventually becomes familiar. What becomes familiar begins to feel natural. And what feels natural eventually shapes the way you think, act, and respond to life. This is why SATS isn't about convincing yourself that something impossible is true. It's about becoming so comfortable with a new inner experience that it starts feeling like your normal state. Imagine someone who has always lived with financial stress. Every morning they wake up expecting problems. Every decision is influenced by fear. Every opportunity is viewed through the lens of scarcity. Now imagine that same person, night after night, gently entering sleep while feeling completely secure, not forcing excitement, not pretending to be someone else, simply resting in the quiet certainty that life supports them. At first, nothing outside appears different. The bedroom is the same. The bank account may still look the same. Tomorrow's schedule hasn't changed. But something much more important has begun to shift. Their relationship with themselves. And every lasting transformation begins there. Because reality doesn't simply respond to what you occasionally wish for. It responds to what consistently feels true about who you are. That's the secret many people overlook. They try to use SATS to get something. Neville taught us to use SATS to become someone. The moment your identity changes, your decisions change, your emotions change, your expectations change, and slowly, almost invisibly, your world begins reflecting the person you've accepted yourself to be. So don't think of SATS as a technique you perform before bed. Think of it as the quiet moment where you gently introduce your subconscious to a new version of yourself, one peaceful night at a time. Now that you understand what SATS really is, we can uncover the secret that Neville Goddard wanted people to discover. Because this is where most people unknowingly go in the wrong direction. They hear about SATS. They lie down at night, close their eyes, visualize a new house, imagine more money, picture the perfect relationship. And then, after a week or two, they quietly tell themselves, I guess this doesn't work. But the truth is, they were practicing the technique. They just weren't entering the right state. Here's the difference. There is a world of difference between seeing yourself with your desire and being the version of yourself who already has it. At first, those two ideas sound almost identical, but they produce completely different results. Imagine someone dreaming of financial freedom. Every night, they picture stacks of money. They imagine luxury vacations, a beautiful home, a successful business. Yet while imagining all of this, one quiet thought remains hidden beneath the surface. I hope this happens someday. That single thought changes everything. Because although the pictures look rich, the identity is still waiting. The subconscious doesn't respond primarily to the picture. It responds to the person experiencing the picture. Are they experiencing it as someone who already possesses it, or as someone desperately trying to obtain it? That distinction is everything. Think about your own life for a moment. Every decision you've made today came from the person you currently believe yourself to be. The confident person speaks differently. The fearful person speaks differently. The grateful person notices different opportunities than the anxious person. The successful person doesn't simply have different circumstances. They've developed different assumptions. Those assumptions quietly shape every choice they make. This is why Neville placed so much emphasis on assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Notice he didn't say, assume the excitement. He didn't say, force yourself to feel emotional. He said, assume the feeling. Feeling, in Neville's teaching, is much deeper than emotion. It means accepting something inwardly as natural. Think about your own name. You don't become excited every time someone says it. You don't celebrate every morning because it's still your name. You simply accept it. It's familiar. It's effortless. It's natural. That's exactly how your desire must begin to feel. Not extraordinary. Not unbelievable. Just normal. Imagine someone who has finally found genuine inner peace. Do they wake up every morning shouting, I can't believe I'm peaceful? Of course not. Peace has become ordinary. It's simply who they are. The same is true for abundance, love, health, confidence, freedom. The moment these become part of your identity, you stop chasing them. And strangely enough, that's often when life begins reflecting them back to you. Because you're no longer creating from longing. You're creating from certainty. This is why forcing emotions rarely works. Many people believe they must generate overwhelming excitement during SATS. They strain. They concentrate. They try to manufacture intense feelings. Ironically, that effort often creates the very state they're trying to escape. Because effort silently whispers, I don't have it yet. But the fulfilled version of you isn't struggling. They aren't trying to convince themselves. They aren't hoping tonight will finally be the night. They're simply resting, living, breathing, as someone for whom the desire has already become part of everyday life. That's the secret. SATS isn't asking you to escape reality. It's inviting you to quietly rehearse a new identity until it feels more familiar than the old one. Night after night, without pressure, without anxiety, without wondering whether you're doing it perfectly. Every evening becomes another gentle reminder to your subconscious. This is who I am now. Eventually, the old identity begins losing its grip. The thoughts that once felt automatic become weaker. Fear doesn't disappear overnight, but it no longer feels like home. Doubt may still visit, but it no longer gets to stay. Little by little, a different version of you begins showing up during the day without conscious effort. You react differently. You speak differently. You carry yourself differently. And before your outer world changes, you notice something even more important. You've changed. That inner transformation is the foundation of everything Neville taught. Because reality doesn't faithfully mirror your occasional wishes. It faithfully reflects the person you consistently believe yourself to be. And SATS, practiced correctly, is one of the simplest ways to become that person before the world has any evidence at all. Now comes the most important part of this entire video. Understanding SATS is valuable, but experiencing it is what changes you. The beautiful thing about this practice is that it doesn't require special talent. You don't have to meditate for years. You don't need perfect concentration. You don't need to force yourself to believe anything. All you need is a few quiet minutes before sleep and a willingness to become someone new. So tonight, as you prepare for bed, I'd like you to follow these simple steps. Don't rush them. Don't judge yourself. Simply allow the experience to unfold naturally. Step 1. Let the day end. Once you're in bed, put your phone away. Turn off the distractions. Give yourself permission to be completely finished with today. Whatever happened, whether it was a wonderful day or a difficult one, leave it where it belongs. Today is over. You don't need to solve tomorrow tonight. Take a slow breath in and slowly breathe out. Again, a little slower this time. With every breath, allow your shoulders to soften. Relax your jaw. Let the muscles around your eyes become still. Feel your body becoming heavier against the mattress. There's nowhere else you need to be. Nothing you need to fix. Nothing you need to prove. For these next few moments, your only responsibility is to simply be. Step 2. Choose one desire. This is where many people make life more complicated than it needs to be. They try to change every area of their life at once. More money, better health, a relationship, a new career, inner peace, all in the same night. Instead, choose just one. One desire that truly matters to you. Not because you desperately need it, but because your heart naturally moves toward it. Keep it simple. Your subconscious doesn't need a complicated story. It only needs clarity. Step 3. Create one simple scene. Now ask yourself a very simple question. What would naturally happen if my desire were already fulfilled? Notice the question isn't, how would it happen? Or, when would it happen? Only, what would be true if it had already happened? Perhaps someone is congratulating you. Maybe you're looking at your bank account with quiet gratitude. Perhaps you're wearing a wedding ring. Maybe you're walking through the front door of your dream home. It doesn't need to be dramatic. In fact, the simpler the scene, the better. Neville often encouraged using a short moment that could easily repeat itself. A handshake, a hug, a few words, a smile. One tiny experience that quietly implies your desire has already become reality. Step 4. Enter the scene. Now gently place yourself inside that moment. Not as someone watching it like a movie, but as the person actually living it. Look through your own eyes. Hear the voices. Feel the environment around you. Notice the small details. The warmth of someone's hand. The softness of your clothing. The sound of laughter. The peaceful silence. Don't try to make the scene perfect. Allow it to feel natural. If details are missing, that's perfectly fine. Your subconscious isn't grading your imagination. It responds to your state far more than your visual accuracy. Step 5. Feel the simplicity of having. Now comes the part people usually overlook. Don't chase excitement. Don't force happiness. Instead, ask yourself, how would I feel if this were simply my normal life? Perhaps the answer is peace, relief, confidence, gratitude, security, freedom. Notice how calm those feelings are. When something truly belongs to you, you don't celebrate every second. You simply live with it. That's the feeling you're looking for. The quiet comfort of already having. Remain there for a few gentle moments. There's nothing to force, nothing to achieve. Just rest inside that version of yourself. Step 6. Let sleep arrive naturally. As sleep begins to take over, don't suddenly return to worrying. Don't begin planning tomorrow. Don't ask yourself whether you're doing SATS correctly. Simply allow yourself to drift into sleep while still carrying the feeling of your fulfilled desire. If the scene fades, that's okay. If sleep comes quickly, even better. You aren't trying to stay awake. You're allowing this new identity to become the final impression your subconscious receives before the day ends. That's the real purpose of SATS. Not perfect visualization, not mental effort, not endless repetition. Simply falling asleep as the person you've chosen to become. And here's something beautiful that many people don't realize. You don't have to feel different overnight. You don't have to wake up tomorrow expecting fireworks. Transformation rarely announces itself with noise. It usually begins in silence. One peaceful night, one quiet assumption, one gentle decision repeated again and again. Then, almost without noticing, you begin thinking differently, responding differently, trusting yourself differently. Eventually, your outer world starts reflecting the person you've been rehearsing every evening. Not because you're forcing reality to change, but because you've changed first. And that's exactly what Neville wanted people to understand. SATS isn't about convincing life to give you something. It's about becoming inwardly familiar with the version of yourself for whom that desire is already a natural part of life. When that familiarity becomes your new normal, reality has an extraordinary way of meeting you there. Before we end, there's one more thing you need to understand, because this is where many people unknowingly stop their own progress. Not because SATS doesn't work, but because they expect it to work in a way Neville never intended. The first mistake is looking for proof too soon. You practice SATS tonight. You wake up tomorrow morning, and almost immediately, you begin searching. Do I feel different? Has anything changed? Where's the sign? The moment you start searching, you're quietly telling yourself that your desire is still somewhere outside of you. You're waiting for the world to convince you that you've changed. But SATS works in the opposite direction. You convince yourself first. Then the world gradually reflects that inner conviction. Think of planting a seed. No one digs it up every morning to check if it's growing. They trust the process. They water it. They protect it. And they allow time to do what only time can do. Your subconscious works the same way. Every night you plant another seed. Every night you strengthen the same assumption. And every night, without your conscious awareness, something begins organizing itself beneath the surface. The second mistake is trying to force the feeling. Many people believe they must experience overwhelming emotion for SATS to work. So they lie in bed trying to manufacture excitement, trying to create goosebumps, trying to make themselves cry. But ask yourself, if your desire had already been part of your life for years, would you still react that way? Probably not. If you've lived in a beautiful home for 10 years, you don't wake up every morning shocked that it's yours. If you've been happily married for years, you don't feel overwhelming excitement every time you see your partner. If you've been financially secure for a long time, you don't celebrate every bill you pay. It simply feels normal. That's the feeling SATS invites you into. Not emotional intensity, but quiet certainty. The third mistake is believing that one perfect session will change everything. Transformation rarely happens in one dramatic night. It happens through gentle repetition. Night after night, week after week, you're introducing your subconscious to the same version of yourself. Eventually, that version stops feeling imaginary. It starts feeling familiar. And once something feels familiar, you naturally begin living from it. Without trying, without remembering techniques, without constantly thinking about manifestation, you simply become that person. And that's when life begins responding differently. Not because reality suddenly changed, but because you did. This is perhaps Neville Goddard's greatest lesson. Your future isn't created by chasing different circumstances. It's created by becoming a different version of yourself. Circumstances don't create identity. Identity creates circumstances. So tonight, when you close your eyes, don't think about everything you still need. Don't replay today's disappointments. Don't carry tomorrow's worries into your sleep. Instead, carry one simple assumption. Choose the version of yourself who already lives the life you desire. Let that person breathe through you. Let that person think through you. Let that person fall asleep through you. Nothing more. No struggle. No pressure. No desperation. Just one peaceful decision. Then allow sleep to do the rest. Because every single night, life quietly asks you one question. Who are you becoming? For years, perhaps you've answered that question without realizing it. Maybe you've fallen asleep as the worried version, the fearful version, the version still waiting for life to begin. But tonight, you have another choice. Tonight, you can cross that invisible bridge between wakefulness and sleep as someone completely different. Someone calmer, someone stronger, someone who no longer measures life by appearances, but by inner certainty. And if you continue making that same choice, night after night, without force, without doubt, without constantly checking for results, one morning, you'll notice something remarkable. You'll respond to life differently. You'll speak with greater confidence. Opportunities you once overlooked will suddenly stand out. The people around you may notice a quiet change before you do. Not because you've learned a new technique, but because you've become a new person, That is the real secret of SATS. It isn't about escaping reality. It's about changing the one place where every new reality begins, within your own consciousness. So tonight, as you prepare to sleep, remember this simple truth. The last thought you carry isn't nearly as powerful as the person you choose to be while carrying it. Choose wisely, choose peacefully, and night after night, allow your subconscious to become familiar with the life you've already accepted within. Because the world outside can only mirror the world you've first created inside. Sleep peacefully, trust the process, and let tomorrow become another quiet step toward the reality you've already claimed in your imagination. Thank you for being here. If this message resonated with you, take it into your heart, not just for tonight, but for every night that follows. Until next time, sleep in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, and let your new reality begin while the rest of the world is asleep.